What if Raiden suddenly faked her death in Genshin Impact to allow the humans to rule on their own? How would Inazuma react to this tragedy, and who could end up being their new ruler? Note: I know this video doesn't make much sense, because her faking the elimination would be the exact opposite of her ideal of eternity, but let's just say, it somehow does not. Also, my focus on this video is more story-based than an actual analysis, so don't take this too seriously. The scenario begins with Yae being very interested that her fellow archons, Venti and Zhongli, allowed their nation to be independent without the need of their archon, and it having a quite good impact. This made her think, and she ended up realizing that maybe it's time for her to do the same, because she doesn't want Inazuma to be dependent on her forever, and allow the humans to rule on their own. After some time pass, she had made her final choice, and executes her plan of faking her elimination. Lightning emerged from the sky, seemingly hitting the shogun, and when the smoke cleared, and the guards entered the area, and saw Raiden seemingly eliminated by the strange lightning, the people of Inazuma watched on in horror, as their archon is now gone, and they cried for this very terrible loss to their nation. In reality though, she faked the whole thing to allow them to be independent, and she also changed her appearance to blend in with the common people, so she could still keep watch over Inazuma, very similar to what Zhongli did. The thunder that previously surrounded Inazuma slowly disappeared, and the sales of desserts drastically lowered, due to Raiden no longer being present, although someone strange that they have never seen before keeps ordering desserts, but not paying them. After a big ceremony by the Yashiro Commission and the Inazuma version of the rite of parting, they are now faced with a very hard question on who would be the new ruler of their nation. One of the obvious answers would be Yae Miko, because she's the Electro Archon servant, and is very close friend with her, so it just makes sense that she would be the next in charge. I feel like she would be a pretty great leader, and would keep a more strict rule over the Tri-Commission, stopping them from doing any more shady businesses with other parties. She would try to still honor the ideal of eternity that Raiden tried to pursue, although it makes much less sense now, because of what happened, and it basically being the exact opposite of eternity. She would add her own little twist to eternity that is much less lonely to her and the nation, because she doesn't fully agree with Raiden's version. She would also utilize her authority as their ruler to make more fun and interesting things happens, all for her enjoyment. The problem is, she doesn't usually meddle in governance, but I think she would still lead for the sake of peace. She would rule fine, but let's say in this scenario, Raiden told her about the fake elimination and requested for her not to do anything, to allow only the humans to rule Inazuma. Miko would definitely accept, because she doesn't seem to even want to be the leader of their nation, because the Grand Narukami Shrine and the Yae Publishing House is good enough for her. The new ruler could be one of the heads of the Tri-Commission. Ayato, from the Yashiro Commission, who is responsible for ceremonial affairs. Kujo Takayuki, from the Tenryo Commission, who manages the finances of the nation, or Hiraji Shinsuke, from the Kanjo Commission, who handles military affairs. For which one of them though? Well, it's pretty hard to say, because none of them specifically deal with governance, but I think Ayato has the highest chance, because their commission is considered closest to the shogun. This would also mean making Ayaka the new Yashiro commissioner, making her now 3 times more busy. I think Ayato would rule well, but deal with lots of problems because of corrupt government officials. He would try to make the people of his nation be more obedient and loyal, as those are the 2 traits he finds the most valuable, but sadly sees them very lacking in Inazuma. Other than that, he would try to replicate how the shogun would usually rule, as he has strong loyalty to his archon. Another possibility is that the Tri-Commission decided to all be fair and just work together to collectively all be the ruler, with not a specific person being chosen. With them collectively leading Inazuma, I feel like this would end up with 3 possible endings. For the first ending, the commissions set aside their differences and disagreements to try and lead Inazuma in the right direction. It takes a while, and some struggles, but the nation eventually learns to be independent without their archon, and the commissions are now more closer and more cooperative with each other. They even invited the other clans of Inazuma to give their own insights and opinions about various topics, further improving the loyalty of its people. They managed to fix the problems that the nation previously had, and Inazuma started to progress more and more, seemingly being more further away from eternity. But they didn't actually forget about it. They still tried to somewhat pursue eternity, because they still have deep respect and love for Raiden, but not in the exact same method. They followed it in a unique way that doesn't involve being isolated. After months pass, the nation still prospers and is growing more, but the unique atmosphere and calmness of the nation still remains the same. Now, for the second ending, one or two of the commissions decided to take advantage of their new leadership and sorta became evil. They even overthrew the other clans, and they became corrupt, easily taking advantage of the people of its nation. This resulted in the city being hugely divided, causing wars and fights over various things, and the nation became absolute chaos. After months of wars, Raiden finally revealed that she was actually still alive and came back from retirement to give peace to Inazuma again, like how it previously was, not expecting them to mess up so bad. She eventually then disciplined the people of her nation and managed to restore it back to its original state. This time though, her rule became much more strict, and she started to enforce her ideals more, seeing eternity as the only means to retain peace and tranquility. She saw how a sudden change can badly impact people, so she started to pursue eternity more intensely, fearing that if something major were to change in their city, it might return back to its chaotic condition when their archon wasn't present. The nation then returned to its old state of feeling increasingly suffocating, and banned travelers to visit and leave their city, all for the sake of everlasting eternity. And finally, for the third ending, the commissions ended up working extremely well together, much better than anyone expected. They created more advanced technology and fixed every problem they had, but along the process, they forgot the ideal of their archon, eternity. With the nation continuing to evolve more and more, the nation started to believe that they could have done everything by themselves, and that archons aren't needed after all. Because of this thinking, Inazuma suffered the same fate as Yae, something that Raiden had previously tried to prevent. In conclusion, I don't think it will be as prosperous as Liyue, and maybe even Mondstadt, if Raiden allowed them to rule on their own, but in the right circumstances, they would still do decently fine. That is the end of the video. Subscribe and like if you ended up enjoying it. Bye.